Dear colleague, welcome to this webinar of the initiative that I have the pleasure to represent today together with colleague, which is called Central and Eastern European Career Guidance Forum, which is an initiative of several associations from several countries in Central, Eastern and Southeastern Europe, which we will talk more about. And today we are happy to present to you the results of the work that has been done by all the four associations, but mainly led by the Czech team, by Zuzana, Lenka, and the others from the Czech Association of Career Guidance, but also with the contribution from colleagues from Slovakia, Romania, Hungary, about the work and the role that professional associations play in these geographical regions in these four countries. So this will be the first short introduction and overview in 15 minutes, and then we will present to you some examples of good practices of our four associations, and also some challenges that are, as you will see, in some ways shared among our four countries. And then at the end, we will have time also for questions, for discussions. In the meanwhile, if you have questions at any moment of our presentation, please feel free to put them in the chat. Thank you again for being here with us. And if you want to enable captions in your native language, feel free to do so by clicking on the captions icon. Sometimes it's hidden behind the more or plus 3 points icon, and choose your speaking language as English and your caption language in the language you wish to read in. So, as I told you, this project is co-funded by the European Union. It's funded by a small Erasmus Plus KA2 action, Key Action 2, and it's led by the Slovak Association for Career Guidance and Career Development, and we work with the Czech Association for Career Guidance and Career Development, Romanian Association of Career Counselors, who will probably not be present today, and the Hungarian Pedagogical Society, which has a specific part dedicated to career guidance, a section for career guidance and career education. So all of these colleagues are present here to answer your questions, to present their work, and so feel free to ask your questions. So what we did at the beginning of this project that started in 2024 in September, unless I'm mistaken, we started with the research, and the main research question was, what role do the professional associations play in our four countries? How do they shape national career guidance systems? How do they perform in their roles that are expected from them by their members, by stakeholders, and by state authorities? We developed together a three-step design, mainly under the leadership of our Czech colleagues, and as I said already, a membership survey, a SWOT analysis with the association leadership, and then we realized stakeholders interviews and focus groups with members, and in some cases with stakeholders. This research was conducted through from November 2024 until more or less April 2025. So as you can see, more than 300 members were surveyed. We realized in total 13 interviews and 7 focus groups. So a very short and simple overview, which is obviously a little bit simplifying and maybe caricatural. But what we have in common is that mostly all of us work within our small volunteer-run organization operating in a more or less fragmented national systems. So we try to, well, of course, this will be published later on the website with more details. But as you can see, the status of the LLG strategies is uh, is very similar across countries, mostly sectoral, mostly fragmented, with some differences. And please, colleague, if you wish, so feel free to correct me. With the National Guidance Forum, in some countries existed, in some countries existed through certain periods. Where these forums were more or less active. For example, in Slovakia, we had the national forums in 2010s, but it's not active anymore. In Czech Republic today, it's quite weak, but used to be more active. In Hungary, unless I'm mistaken, abolished in 2012, and in Romania, so it's a mistake, probably non-existing. What to have an overview of how big are these associations, more or less the number of paying members, but that can be a little bit misleading. Many associations are not necessarily enforcing the payment of the membership, and also like a formal or symbolic membership is accepted, which is the case, for example, in Slovakia. Last year, out of 200 registered organizations or individuals mostly, we had around 40 who paid the membership. This year we are going to try to be more active. So take this with a grain of salt, because this is very evolutive and very unstable in time in most countries. But more interestingly, if we take the perspective of the members, we see that what they value the most, or what they expect the most, is opportunities for informal learning, for networking, meeting our other professionals, other counselors, sharing of information. And these are the three priorities, and more or less associations are delivering on them. Because these are also the top three by fulfillment. So it seems that this core mission of the associations are being met by them. But if we take a closer look at gaps, which are, of course, again, different across, can vary across countries, but mostly what members feel is missing is opportunities for supervision, intervision, mentoring, so more structured or specifically structured opportunities for personal development. What members see as lacking also, despite this activity being present in all the four associations to varying degrees, is shaping the guidance system at national level. So this is being done by the associations, but not necessarily visible by members, and supporting networking and collaboration, which is a reformulation of sharing information, promoting innovation. So might be an item duplication, more or less. Now, in terms of the analysis of how the associations are run, so again, all four operate on voluntary effort, often through project funding, so very opportunistic, and for most of us, quote unquote, weak strategic planning cycle, because we operate in an environment that is difficult to foresee, with changing political priorities and changing funding that is mostly project based. Most of the associations do not have permanent staff, except recently for Slovakia, where there's been a long-term national project that allowed us to fund some staff members, but only for specific project activities. Then, of course, this means that planning is often driven by available funding, by available opportunities, with weaker systematic member feedback mechanisms. And as you can see, the problem, or not necessarily problem, is that it's also that not all the members pay their membership, and a question of added value of this association is often mentioned by the members. And in many countries, being a member of this association is not only a sign of the will to engage in professional development, but also a sign of sort of pioneer mentality. I'm really committed to the promotion of career guidance, and in this way, it has a sort of symbolic function. What is really interesting is to take a look at the stakeholders' views. So all the stakeholders, without affirm the importance of career guidance and expect associations to play an important role, act as a competence or innovation centers through these international projects, bringing innovation from other countries, other cultures, also set professional standards, ensure quality. They expect associations to engage in structured advocacy with ministries and with stakeholders, paradoxically often without providing or creating these spaces for structured advocacy work. So it's often more declarative than factual, and be a sort of non-governmental but somehow authoritative voice in policy processes. So as a voice of professionals who have the contacts in the field. Also, some findings that are highlighted in the slides. I won't go on into details because I don't know the context of all countries in details, but you will have the opportunity to go deeper in country presentations. And also the full report will be published on our website soon. So to conclude this brief introduction, we see that associations are valued for professional development, for networking, for providing this professional voice connected to the field, the practice of career guidance, but are expected also to do policy advocacy without either having capacity or scale. But take this again with a grain of salt because it depends on the country and on the context. A sort of tension between these two aspects, informal learning, networking, and engagement with stakeholders and shaping systems where we are more or less successful, more or less being listened to, and where more or less these spaces for advocacy and policy shaping of the systems exist. Some recommendations, and more will be found in the report and the articles that we are in the process of publishing. So develop these professional standards, formalize the identity and the profession of career guidance, develop the capacity for advocacy, continue working on the accessibility of career guidance. And also in many countries, this traditional view of guidance as information or diagnostic service is present, and associations can play an important role in shifting the way how career guidance is perceived in terms of its role, impact, and expected outcomes. So thanks again for all the partners and maybe the Czech colleagues for leading this work. And feel free to ask questions in chat and read the report that will be available on our website. And moving on, I would like to pass on the microphone to colleagues from Hungary to tell us a little bit more about the association and selected good practices.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm gonna present. Yeah, thank you. So I will present the practices we managed to identify in Hungary in the following minutes. I will cover 3 of these practices, as you can see on this slide. The first one is a joint yearly conference with universities and official guidance organizations. And let me highlight here how important these partnerships are and how much we believe in demonstrating this lifelong learning kind of mindset that is represented by this conference. We also have the regular webinar as an online opportunity to meet with our partner organizations, while the third one is career guidance repository or repertory and collection of different links and scientific articles that ensures the knowledge sharing in a very curated way. So if we can jump to the next slide, here you can see the details of this joint annual conference, as I mentioned. The reason why we think this is a great and useful opportunity because it makes the collaboration between higher education institutions, professional organizations, governmental career guidance bodies even stronger. Serving as a main national forum, it contributes to meaningful discussions in complex topics of labor trends, policy developments, in general, lifelong guidance. And we all know this is a very complex area. Besides creating this opportunity for the impacted parties to meet, it makes the knowledge transfer easier. Given its regular frequency, it's more of like long-term oriented. And as a result, it leads to a better visibility and hopefully credibility of the Hungarian career guidance in general, as well as it leads to meaningful outputs like policy change ideations, defining annual guidance indicators, networking platforms, and so on. So these exchanges are considered to be crucial. This conference is not only the opportunity for having scientific discussions only. It's also one of the most important parts, of course. But to add to that, it gives the opportunity for networking, having these discussions, seeing, sharing good practices, just like we do at the moment. So we absolutely see the benefits of this good practice. If we jump to the next slide, here we're going to see our second good practice, which is the webinar. Why is this important, or what makes it different from the joint conference? This is online, and you can imagine this online opportunity makes the accessibility of the knowledge sharing much easier for many, especially in the rural areas where we don't need to travel to the capital to have these kind of discussions. We can do it online. This practice serves as a professional development channel that is, as I mentioned, accessible. And on top of that, it is easy to organize that. And it is associated with low costs as a result, and also provides higher flexibility. So flexibility, low cost, and also the complexity of the organization is considered to be important factors why we think this good practice is very beneficial. As the webinars are regular, it supports the continuous knowledge flow, and it makes it possible to expand the partnership based on the topic of the event. So as these webinars are kind of focusing on specific topics, based on that, it's possible to adjust the audience. And of course, we can ensure that the interested parties are always present. They have their own networking after the webinar, which, as I mentioned, contributes to that process, knowledge flow, which is continuous. Yeah. As mentioned, it is cost effective. We believe Teams or Zoom could be fitting platforms for these goals. And of course, the content can be changed based on needs. Some examples can be seen on the slide as well. Some examples for topics. And this needs analysis is, of course, an important part of that. So we can check before what is interesting, what is an important topic for the audience, and based on that, the webinar's topic can be adjusted. And the last good practice I wanted to show you today is this career guidance repertory and collection of links. The third practice is, an important collection created by the members of the organizations, the articles created by the members. And its second part contains links to websites, tools, and other important studies. You know that this area, this lifelong guidance area, is changing rapidly. We have new trends, technological trends we need to follow. So this collection is a very important, as I mentioned, repertory or repository. We can go back, open, and check. The repertory is planned to be made available in both Hungarian and English, or is already in progress. It is labeled, so it makes it easy to navigate within its content. That's also super important. We want to make it as easily navigatable as possible, as accessible as possible, and with this, many people can get access to that. The reason why we think this is extremely useful is that even though it's a long list, it is curated. And this fact that this is curated makes the quality assurance much more reliable, and this leads to professional trust. Some examples for the content categories can be seen in the slide, including questionnaires, tests, dashboards, statistics, as I mentioned, scientific articles, and EU-level resources as well. And of course, the format can also be adjusted, but as you know, this kind of curation makes it also possible to not only have good quality, but also very much updated list of contents made available. Yeah, so these were the 3 good practices I wanted to show you today. I wholeheartedly recommend our website, legi.hu, that already contains a wide variety of professional materials, bibliography in the topic of career guidance, and of course, if you have any questions, we are ready to answer those. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mate. And I'm sharing on the screen, if you can see it, the English translation of the library. And now, we have a screenshot here too in the presentation. And now, Zuzana or Lenka, the floor is yours about the Czech Association.
I think that the say some words, Zuzana.
Yes. Hello, good morning, dear all. First of all, I have to apologize for my indisposition. I am a little sick and have problems with my cough and voice. And unfortunately, the same happened to my colleague Alice, who is here with me and will join the presentation. So please excuse our cough and weak voices. Please, next slide. Yeah. Thank you. I would like to introduce our Czech Association for Career Guidance and Career Development that was established in 2017, and we have been inspired by the Slovak Association, from which we took also the name. As you will see later, even the names, missions, and other association issues are in the Czech and Slovak version nearly the same. The real association life should be quite different. Our missions is related to professional development of career guidance and career guidance counselors using all available ways and tools. The Czech Association is, in fact, a very small one. As we last year had only 31 members which paid membership fees. Among the members are career guidance counselors, practitioners that work with different kind of clients, work for different institutions, or are simply freelancers and have very different lengths of career guidance experience and practice. We have 5 members of association board, which especially in the beginning tried to maintain vivid association life, contacting regularly members, encouraging them to take part in common activities and inventing common small projects, but it doesn't work very well. If we can see the next slide. And now, Alice, I would like you to continue with our association activities.
Yeah, can you hear me? See
yes,
me?
Yes.
Okay, now it's my turn to introduce our activities, but also our weak points. So let me briefly first walk you through what we do as an association. So first, we, of course, try to communicate with our members, mainly through our website and emails, including surveys to better understand their needs. Once a year, we hold an annual meeting, either in person or online, mainly online. We also organize webinars and seminars open to both members and non-members. On the international level, we are involved in several Erasmus Plus projects focused, for example, on development of career guidance quality, We also joined project focused on preparation of online course for career guidance counselors, which you can find on our web pages. And we also have project focused on mobility of career guidance counselors. We are also members of the Czech National Guidance Forum and of the EIVG. Now, and I think it's important to be honest about this, we face some real challenges, how Susanna always also mentioned. So our membership base is small and not very active. People come and go for various reasons. But we think it's also deeper issue. When we founded the association, the idea was to create a platform where members cooperate with each other, which is also idea of civic association, not an organization that delivers services to its members. But many people in the guidance community expect exactly that, regular information, training, and support. So the gap between what we are, what we can offer, and what some people expect us to be. The second challenge is our capacity. We have no paid staff. Everyone on the board is volunteer, which also limits our availability. Our funding comes mainly from projects, which is good in some ways because it builds expertise and delivers visible results. But it also means that we struggle to keep up with the less visible but equally important work, staying in touch with members, organizing regular meetings, so the building of the community. So I think this is also the reason why we, as a board members, are overwhelmed with activities and have troubles to involve, to meet our members. What works well is the project participation itself, and also Susanna will introduce our second or our next successful activity. So that's for me. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Alice. So in this part, I would like to present you two examples of our good practice. The first is that we from 2023 started to organize once a year seminar called A Day for Career Guidance. And we invite primarily our members as lecturers, and we ask them to introduce new career approaches, methodologies, tools for working with clients, and so on. Among the seminar participants are school and private career counselors, which are not our members. And we see that the interest to participate each year is growing. This year, we have a lecture room for 70 persons, and at the waiting list, there are almost 30 other persons. Please, next slide. Thank you. Here you can see only the selection of seminar topics, and you can see in which year the topic was on agenda. Nowadays, for this year, 2026, it will be held, the seminar in May. We are pushing lecturers to be more practical, to present more practical examples and procedures of career guidance in form of an experiential presentation, not a frontal one, and so to present in a way that the participants can assimilate these practical issues as much as possible and be able to use them in their practice. Please, next slide. Another important activity of our association board exchange studies days for career guidance practitioners. These studies days are organized as academia studies visits and are coordinated by Euroguidance Network. This year we joined this Academia Study Stays for the second time. We are sending 9 our members abroad, and we are receiving the same number from abroad for a 4 days study stay that will be held in Prague, in fact, next week, starting from Monday. Cost of the stays for the study visit participants are covered by Erasmus project for short-term mobility in the field of adult education. Of course, the project has to be submitted and sending by the sending institution to their national agency, and of course have to be approved to be able to send abroad the participants. So this is all about the Czech Association. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Zuzana and Alice. And now we proceed with the presentation of the Slovak Association. And I know this has not been prepared, but we have one of the participants is Stefan Grajcar, who is one of the founders of the association. So Stefan, if you're with us, feel free also to turn on your microphone and your camera and complete what I am saying and add any relevant details. Slovak Association was created in 2014 on the initiative of Stefan and some people around him from public and private provision of career guidance. And the idea from the beginning was to bring together professionals from not only individual professionals, but also institutional providers or organizational providers of career guidance with the mission of to improve access, quality and recognition of career guidance as a publicly available service or funded service. So we have around 230 registered members. But as you saw at the beginning, the membership fee is not necessarily enforced. But these are basically the people who at any moment were part of the association and still are members of the association. The association has been very, very active since its development, except the period of the COVID that impacted negatively all of our associations. But we were involved in the creation of the first professional standard for career practitioners that was based firstly on the NICE model. Since the very beginning, engaged in also international initiatives around green guidance, such as Employee ID and Erasmus projects. We developed community driven quality standard that was not recognized at the beginning by the state authorities and then became last year the basis of the nationally recognized quality standard for providers. We drafted the National Lifelong Guidance Strategy in 2018 for the Ministry of Education and hosted the IAVG conference in Bratislava in 2019. And through our current president, Martin Martinkovic, we are quite active also on the national level in terms of policy making and lobbying through sector councils and contacts, mostly with the Ministry of Education and labor. And since 2025, we are responsible for the methodological leadership of the one-stop guidance centers for young people for needs in the consortium of 5 partners, where nationally we are responsible for the training, quality, and methodology of career counselors and mentors in these centers. We chose to present 3 or 2 activities. So a brief overview of the goals of the association, but 2 activities that were fun for us, although quite demanding, and that had the aim of promoting guidance on the national level and making the existing services visible. The first one is Coffee with Career Counselor, which is a free cafe-based career guidance event. It's a series of events organized within 1 or 2 weeks in several towns across Slovakia. The idea is to use partnerships with the media and with public and private partners to promote these events and invite people to come have a coffee with a career counselor. So usually at any spot or any coffee, you would have a 1 hour or 2 hour workshop, and then a possibility to have a taster, a small individual consultation, usually 30 minutes with a career counselor, and then orientation to either a publicly funded career guidance, which is basically for adults, public employment services, and for some also to pay privately, because at the time guidance was not publicly funded for adults that were employed. So what is important here is the informal setting. We used community spaces, community cafes, and we involved lots of members of the association. So the last time we held it, it was held around 8 to 10 towns across Slovakia, with around 10 to 15 career counselors and around 100 participants, which is not that much, but if we take into account also the media campaign around and the social network posts, this was seen by a lot more people. The second activity is the Careers Week, or a National Careers Week, which is also, again, a series of events held across Slovakia, concentrated, well, in more than a week. It's usually almost a month, where there's with partnership with Euroguidance Slovakia, we have a website called Careers Week, with a publicly open calendar where all these actors of career guidance from private and public sector, so also schools, pedagogical sectors, centers, labor offices, can add their event. We created a sort of a manual with a commonly shared communication language and logos, with ideas of what kind of activities can be proposed. So this could be a open door day at the labor office, at the counseling department. This could be a workshop for pupils. This could be also sometimes the coffee with career counselors is organized within this week. And at its peak, we had almost 40 towns and 60 events, and they are published on the map, also on the website. And again, we try to use this cooperation with the media to promote the event, and again, this is to increase the awareness of the population or of the public around the available career guidance services in Slovakia. Okay, so thank you for your attention. And Stefan, if you are with us.
Yes, I am here. Hello, everybody.
Hi, thanks.
May I add just a few words?
Please.
First of all, greetings to all of you. It's nice to see you again. And maybe two remarks or two notes. The first one would be that in the case of Slovakia, and as far as I know, this is the case also true for the Czech Republic, the association was trying from the very beginning to be not sectoral, but a joint, or tried to unite professionals, practitioners, teachers, academicians, etc., no matter from which sector they are. And this is one point, and I think it was a good step. Let me mention that when I was in 2002 at the IFG conference in Warsaw, I discussed with some Polish colleagues how the association works in Poland, and I was quite surprised that they have associations but two: one for the educational sector, and the second for labor sector, which we tried to avoid this kind of practice in Slovakia, and I think this happened also in the Czech Republic. And the second point is that from the very beginning, even before the association was established in 2014, we were very closely cooperating with Euroguidance, National Center Euroguidance. And this is true during all these years. And the cooperation is so close that sometimes it was not easy to distinguish who is behind the event which is being organized. We tried to share, we tried to cooperate and distribute perhaps also some tasks. Euroguidance would be responsible for this, association would be responsible for this, and we were partners from the very beginning. And this is something which I think was very useful, and it was always an win-win situation with positives for both sides. Just these 2 points. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stefan. Please stay with us for any questions there might be. Thank you so much. So to conclude and open the space for discussion, all these practices that were presented and more are available also on the website of the Central and Eastern European Guidance Forum. So you can find the website here. So if you go to the CEE Guidance EU and you go to resources, we'll find the repository of good practices here. You click on read more. So it's available in all partner languages, but currently undergoing a linguistical finalization. So we will show the English version here. So we can see that there are almost 30, or I think 26, unless I'm mistaken, practices, and they are structured around 3 categories. So good practice from the associations, where you could find this Careers Week or the Hungarian library, also with the links, and the Career Day that Czech colleagues presented. But we also wanted to make this practical for practitioners, because as Alice said, and I think this is common for all countries, practitioners are most interested by tools, by practical things. So from every country, we try to identify some innovative, interesting tools that are ready for use for career practitioners. Some specificities from some countries is the inclusion, for example, of green guidance. So how to connect the issue of sustainability and green transition on the labor market, how to integrate this into guidance. Some edge cases, some interesting activities that connect well-being with career, that enlarge also how we think about career within a perspective of perhaps life guidance. Stefan is very familiar and keen on this idea. And then, of course, you can filter by country. So let's do a quick demonstration. So if I start typing coffee, if everything works well, all the tools that contain these keywords are showed. And if I click on coffee with career guidance counselor, just to stay with the topic that was recently presented, you can find what is the objective, the target group, the duration and frequency, a description of what it is, implementation steps if you wish to replicate it on your national level, necessary conditions, what does it require to put in place, some photos and videos, and also materials in national language. and the contact person. Why the contact person is important? Because for some activities, we plan also to provide mobility opportunities. So this is something that is being formalized and that will be also available on the website. So there are some systemic good practices also available from Hungary, from Romania. And the idea is to go deeper into this and also organize this kind of exchanges between councillors. So feel free to explore it. To take a look, please give us some weeks to finalize the national linguistic versions. Thank you for your attention, and the floor is open for any questions that you or testimonials that you wish to share. I see Stefan raising hand.
Yes, please. May I ask, is this platform open?
Yes, this is absolutely open.
I mean, open in the sense that perhaps when the project is over, it might be open, especially this platform. It might be open also to other countries, like Poland, Austria, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm. We have our Chief Strategist Officer with us, Tibor. Would you mind sharing our ideas that we discussed within the partnership for the continuation of these initiatives?
Yeah, just very briefly, I think, Stefan, you made a point, and then usually those know me know that I'm always starts the answers with some type of historical approach, but really I think Central Eastern Europe, since the turn of the 19th-20th century, was divided into many small countries, especially after the 90s. You remember Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, all of these changes. So we end up in a situation where we have several languages and several borders. And when we set up
Tibor,
the idea...
for me, the sound is garbled a little. I don't know if it's the case for everyone, but maybe bring your microphone closer. And if it's just me, ignore.
Okay, I try to come closer and hopefully then you can hear me. Seems to me that my mic is working. So just keeping the answer short, the idea was to set up a Central Eastern European Guidance Forum. Now with Romania, it's the southern part already, or you can call it West Balkan. I mean, there are different type of geographical labels on the region. But the reality is that Central Eastern Europe represents a wide variety of cultures and languages. And then obviously, borders are not the ones cutting career guidance activities into pieces, or shouldn't be the ones. So whatever professionals are doing in Romania, Serbia, Austria, Slovakia, etc., we very strongly believe that we are working around the same targets. And since we are all European and European Union members, many of these countries are, the 4 project partners are in the EU, in the last 2 decades, we intend to follow the lifelong guidance paradigm, which came alongside with lifelong learning and all of the turbulences in the labor market. So the short answer is yes, but the footnote for the short answer is that it's a pity that in this region we are absolutely relying on small Erasmus or different type of project fundings. And under the V4, under the Danube regional strategy, under many other strategies, nobody ever tried to establish what we are trying to do here as volunteers. Because career guidance is not only about manpower, not only about the labor market, but I think about inclusion. Now, Thomas, you call it green guidance, but I think it's also about social inclusion. So providing a meaningful activity for people. And then if I may just have one more sentence, that how unique what we are doing. I recently have a discussion with one of our retired professor, and then we submitted another article about this project in Hungarian. And then the editor actually challenged us because we wrote something that in the draft that this network is very unique. And during the socialist years, back in 1919, before the collapse of the communist system in the region, was a much better established network between professionals of Poland, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, Romania, etc. So I went back to the archive actually, and then I showcased the work of Kosko and others from Czechoslovakia, and then the institute from Bratislava and other type of establishments, where we really showcasing that this network worked actually better at the professional level before the 1990s. And I think this is a very interesting takeaway for not only for guidance professionals, mainly not for guidance professionals, but for decision makers.
May I? Thank you, Tibor, for this. Let me mention just one thing. In 2009, and Zuzana, as well as Anita, but also Lenka will remember this. We started in Euroguidance to meet or to organize cross-border seminars. And at the very beginning, we had 3 countries, Czech Republic, Austria, and Slovakia. And during the years, it showed that this word cross-border is not very good one, because countries like Romania and Germany are not neighbors. They do not have common border. The same applies to Nordic countries and southern countries, but all these countries used to meet year by year at a cross-border seminar somewhere in Europe. So take it as an example that this Central European platform is also, or it might be also, just a beginning of something much broader. And it might be also a question, what is Central Europe and what is not Central Europe? Take it just as maybe food for thinking. But future, I think, is from this point of view, at least from my point of view, quite bright. Thank you very much anyway.
Thank you, Stefan. Just to give you a teaser, we plan a conference in Bratislava on the 22nd of June, where we plan on signing a memorandum of understanding of some kind to sustain the network as it exists now. And the perspectives are, again, as Tibor outlined, to try to enlarge it to other countries from the region, and perhaps focus more on this systemic level, not to be in competition with what Euroguidance is doing already with the cross-border seminars, but provide this meta level or policy level analysis, which from what we saw is missing and is needed by the stakeholders and by the associations. But we will see what it goes. And of course, you are all invited to Bratislava on the 22nd of June. More info will be on the website. Zuzana?
Mm-hmm. I very much agree that these activities, the cross-border seminars, are very important and very, very good meetings. Yeah. And now I would like to read 2 comments or 2 questions that were given to the přihlašovací formulář. No. Mm-hmm.
The registration form.
Registration formular, sorry. And these questions are: what are the biggest benefits and specific advantages for members of your professional associations? And how do you ensure the professionalism of your members especially their participation in supervisory activities, adherence to ethical codes. I think there should be a general answer because all other associations are nearly the same. So if you can continue, thank you.
Okay, so these were two questions about what is the added value or benefit of membership of any association, and the second one was around professionalization, quality assurance, participation on in intervision, supervision, etc. Does anyone from the present representatives of the association share their impressions and experiences?
Can I go ahead if the others are still thinking about the answer? I think the first question, the answer is very clear. You cannot act as a fully skilled professional career counselor if you are alone. So we talk a lot about intervision, supervision, additional degree programs, but I think not to have a burnout, it starts with the point that you know that you can share your thought about your own profession with others. If it's a talking shop, then it's a talking shop, but I think it's an important one. Concerning the second point, probably what I'm going to say is a bit provocative, because thanks to the situation, we are all Europeans. We are not coming from the USA. So professional association, I think it was only the Romanian one of the Romanian association was issuing credentials, but we are not like in other part of the region in Saudi Arabia and so on. We are not the ones who are actually issuing credentials for career guidance professionals. Why? Because we are Europeans, so we have the universities in charge to providing the professional trainings. So for the second question of Zuzanna, I would say no, this is not our role to professionalize colleagues. But once they enter into the professional field with a degree, then we are the ones who can start showcasing them how to become a full-scale professional. Because this is in line with all of the career developmental theory, isn't it?
Thank you, Tibor. Then obviously the question arises, and I don't know if Alice wanted to complete, what about countries where there is no academic diploma for career guidance counselors? And this is where associations can play a sort of palliative, of course, limited role to this. Alice, sorry if you wanted to add.
I just wanted to add the second benefit of being in some professional association, according to me, is just to have a voice, because it's easier to have a voice as some professional association as an individual member. So this is also for me to belong to some professional association means also this. And I think professional association is not able to provide a primary education for career counselors, but can also at the political level to try to establish some ways to profession. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. And I know we might have some colleagues from Romania without, maybe not, but if there's anyone from Romania who would like to share something about the association, about your national guidance and its role in the guidance system, feel free to do so. I'm looking at you, Konstantin, but might be a trap. So don't feel obliged.
No, that's right. I am from Romania, though I'm like in very early into career counseling. As I started as an individual, and I would say on top of what your previous colleague said, another benefit, I think, it's when you are part of an association that you can access like multiple funds, even from private. Like I was looking recently to access some private funds from CSR programs. And it was very hard for me to apply to them as, for example, at one moment they say like, okay, if you have an association, then I was like, okay, I can start like to even build my association. But then I looked further into the requirements of the program and say like an association that was established 1 year ago with minimum 3 members. And then I was like, okay, but I'm starting just right now, so I cannot apply. So the benefits of being part of an association can be also that you can access different funds, like even from private CSR programs.
Yeah, thank you, Konstantin. Okay, so I don't see any more questions, no raised hands until unless I'm mistaken. That seems to be the case. So thank you very much to all the presenters and the colleagues from the CEE Guidance Forum project. Thanks to all the participants. We will share with you the slides and the recordings of the webinar with the information of the around the next event, which will be around career education in curricula. Thank you again for your presence, for your attention, and see you on our next events.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
All the best. Thank you.